Hello, savvy listeners. I am excited you are taking the time to invest in yourself today. Savvy, the business podcast, will show you how your daily habits can create your own platform. Experts will share solutions and efficient tips to create a roadmap just for you. One thing that can make this happen: change your habits, change your success. Welcome to Savvy, the business podcast.
Hey y'all, guess what time it is? It's coffee cup therapy time. Y'all ready? I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. Y'all paying attention? Here we go. Whenever a sense of emptiness or hopelessness grabs you, I want you to try one thing. Try being useful to someone. Never ask what's in it for you, because that's not important in the context of what I'm speaking of. You see, in life, no matter what challenges you or whatever difficulties you may overcome, just try being useful to somebody. In whatever small capacity you can do that, just try it. And watch how magically your life transforms. You see, your self-worth is always going to be a function of what you contribute to the world. It will never be about what's in it for you and what you have for yourself, but what you give to others. Make you say, doesn't it? Y'all go out there and be great today. And remember, this world needs you. Participate accordingly, people. Send feedback to me at media@savvymag.biz. I hope to hear from you soon. Y'all make it a great day and be safe out there. And remember what I said, be useful to somebody. You never know the impact it'll make. Bye-bye now.
Hi, welcome to Savvy the Business Podcast. I'm excited to be on with you today because I'm going to bring you some information that I'm sure so many of you are needing right now, especially after the year of 2020. We are on with Ms. Tiffany Wright, the Resourceful CEO, and she's going to bring some resources and some tips to you today to help you maybe navigate some of those financial issues you've had or some of the troubles with getting back on the right track after, 2020. And I know, unfortunately, for so many, you've had to start completely over and you had to struggle with finding various resources to help you go through your day-to-day processes with, making sure that you're able to at least stay open and survive as long as you can. And now that we're in a new year, I want to be sure that I can find those experts to bring you those solutions, those tips, some of the things that you need. And I know this is not a long show and you can't get a lot of the in-depth information that you would need, but at the end, we will be sure that you have all the information for Tiffany so you can reach out to her directly and ask whatever questions and get, the information that you need. And I'm sure she will be very happy to work with you. So let's get into it. I'm going to read you a little bit of her bio before we jump in and get started. Tiffany helps small to medium B2B companies restructure their operations and finances to generate higher revenue, stronger cash flow, and greater profits. Tiffany helps small to medium B2B companies restructure their operations and finances to generate higher revenue, stronger cash flow, and greater profits. Her clients have experienced revenue increases of 10 to 40%, profitability increases 20 to 250%. Yes, 250%, and doubling to quadrupling of cash flow in less than a year. Tiffany Wright will talk to you about how you can revamp your business to deliver your goals, She's also the author of The Funding is Out There. Access the cash you need to impact your business. That is so needed today. So be sure you go purchase that book. Whether you've got a $300,000 transportation business or a $20 million business service company or an aspiring entrepreneur with options, she has information and strategies for your business success. So with those numbers and with everything that she has done, how can you not reach out to her and especially go purchase this book? Because who does not need a book to tell you where the funding is and how you can get it, and also the process to, do what you have to do to get it. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on and joining us today. I mean, this is a much needed conversation for so many.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So let's get into, how bad has it been? I'm sure you've had some of these conversations with people reaching out to you because of 2020 and they just got to find a way to move forward.
It's 2020 was bad. I actually stopped looking at the stats because I was getting depressed. And if you're, or I don't get depressed, and maybe it's because I stopped, I catch myself, but yeah. I was trending down. I was starting to feel bad all the time because I kept reading about so many business failures. And when the coronavirus hit, and the shutdown started, I had actually, beginning in February, I started to have, I belong to a group that, I belong to an organization that mentors micro entrepreneurs to help them grow their businesses. And a lot of it involves retail or food. And a lot of them were having issues, especially on the food side. They were, orders were being canceled, speaking engagements. I had a chef who spoke a lot, were being all of this. And that was February and March. And so, then I started to read about all the restaurants closing, and I think the stat is about 40% of Black owned businesses have failed. So yeah, I had to step away from that and figure out what I could do. And so I did drastically increase the amount of free mentoring that I provided through different organizations. But yeah, if you're feeling down, you can't be in a place to really help someone. You have to be able to help people rise up above their current situations and think strategically about what they need to do. And if you're feeling bad for them, you can't do that. So yeah, it's been, I mean, it's been bad, but what I have actually done, I've done a lot of writing because I find, there's landlords out there having problems. There's from business ownership from all different types of perspectives, and people are not aware of the programs that are out there to assist them. I remember I wrote this long article about the EIDL and the PPP because for freelancers and self-employed, because my massage therapist was just saying, well, I'll just use my savings. I tried to do the PPP, but it's just so difficult and all of that. And I said, no, we don't know how long this is going to last. So I figured if she needed help, and I took all this time to write it up, that a lot of other people did. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, but it's needed though. It's needed. But because sometimes it's the saying, you don't know what you don't know, and because of that, you're not going to ask certain questions because you don't know to even ask the question. Right. So that's right. No, it's not long-winded at all, because it's one of them things where you just never know who needs this help and what they need to move forward on some of these things. So absolutely, the information have to be put out there. Now with people, like you mentioned, the PPP, Of course, a lot of people jumped on it, and then they got really strict on the rules because there was some abuse. And the obvious abuse. And it's like, how can you, why would you, abuse an opportunity like this with some of the things you're doing? People getting $1 million, $2 million, and you go buy Ferraris, Rolexes, and, just going on a shopping spree, buying mansion, big houses and
Right.
things. And not only is it wrong that you're doing that, but to blast it on social media was like in your face, type thing. And you have these
Right.
companies over here. I just need, $30,000, or I just need
Right.
$100,000. And here you are over here getting millions, and you off, doing things like that.
Right.
So with people hesitant to go through the process because they changed some rules, because
Right.
of those bad apples, what do you say to those people?
Well, first, let me say that they didn't change the rules; they clarified the rules. Because
Okay.
remember, they approved the PPP, but then, so the funding is there, but then how do you deliver that funding? What are the rules? How do you make sure that you check conformity? Verify all of that. So that's what got changed. They didn't actually change the PPP. They just they kept clarifying it. And this is the thing that really made me just a little angry, was that, like, I know here in Atlanta, the Atlanta Business Chronicle was, they kept saying these horror stories about people committing fraud.
Yeah.
And the SBA is really drilling down. But that was for, like you said, for the larger loans. These were larger loans. But you also have to remember that the news makes its money
Yep.
from fear.
Yeah.
From fear. So they don't talk about the positive stories of the PPP. Anything that you hear from the news, unless they're actually talking about how, the feel-good stories about how some owners have persevered. That's the only time they talk positively about the PPP. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I was angry because I do know a lot of people who didn't want to go for it for fear of being extremely scrutinized and thinking that they didn't qualify. But that was bull. And even now, the scrutiny is at $150,001. So it's over $150,000.
$1.
That's what I said, $150,000. Yeah, it's over $150,000 in loan. That's when there's more scrutiny, because that's where more of the fraud has occurred. But yeah, it's so if you haven't applied for a PPP loan, the first one, the window is open, please do so. And if you're concerned about the banks, because that was the other thing, initially when it came out, it was everyone who had a banking relationship, which is another reason why I have a banking relationship, but everyone who had a banking relationship got their loans. Everyone who didn't know where to go. And fortunately, fintech firms stepped up, like Lendio. I'm not advocating for any particular one, but they stepped up and filled the void, and actually streamlined the process, so it's much easier to use them than it was to go through some of the banks. So if you have not yet applied, then please apply for the first draw. If you applied and received a PPP loan, please apply for the second draw. That's what's going on now. Apply for the second draw. You can use the same bank that you used before, or you can use a different entity. Okay. They initially opened it up because what happened to like CDCs and a lot of community lenders, Black-owned banks, to make sure that they targeted the group of minority-owned businesses, especially Black-owned businesses, and Native American-owned businesses that did not get that money from the first PPP or were afraid to get it. So that money, people know what they're doing now. So please, please apply for the PPP. It's straightforward. It will guide you through, and you can ask questions I would say, look at the ratings of some of the organizations if you're using a fintech firm, because some of them are highly responsive. This is what I've seen, and some are not. So you want to go with the responsive ones in case you have a hiccup when you're going through the process.
Okay. Let's talk about the repayment of these loans. A lot of people are hesitant as well because of that is, I need this loan to get to a certain place. How long do they have before payment is going to be requested? And how does that work?
So the PPP loan is, the forgiveness is starting, the loan forgiveness application is starting now, but it still depends on whomever you got your PPP loan with. So until they iron out how they're going to go through the process, they can't yet you can't yet apply for loan forgiveness. So depending on who your bank or institution is, you may or may not have already received information about loan forgiveness. So don't freak out if you're hearing about loan forgiveness applications, but you have not yet received one. Some entities are still working. It's for, it's fully forgiven if at least 60% was used for to workers, and then the other 40% was used for operational or mortgage payments, utilities. So if you're self-employed and, like, for instance, you pay your car, you use the money from your business to cover everything for yourself, well, you paid yourself. That's considered a payment.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes,
you would have received, if you work for someone else, you would have received a check, let's say $2,000. You would have received a check for $2,000 and you would have paid all your bills. So think of it that way. You give yourself $2,000 to pay all of your living bills. That is your payment. So you just have to think about it that way. If you're a freelancer or you're self-employed and you don't actually cut yourself like a W-2 check or a 1099 thing or whatever.
So that'd be like a draw almost if they're doing a draw.
Yeah, it's like a draw, right? Or if you're subchapter S, it would be a draw. So just if you have receipts, then you just use that. You use it to pay for gas, your car, and all of that. So I wouldn't really worry about that. They're generally not asking you to provide all those kinds of receipts. They just want you to be able to show that you use the money to pay yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing I want to say is the EIDL. So PPP can be completely 100% forgiven. So if you got $10,000 or $20,000 or $50,000 and you used it to either pay yourself or pay your employees, 100% of that can be forgiven and you don't have to repay any of that. Typically, they had said that the period was, you had a 6-month time frame before you had to start repayment. And it's a 1% interest rate. So if you did use some of that for some of the things that are not covered, 1%. So let's say you had 10,000 and you used 500 for other stuff. So and so you have to repay the 500. That would be at 1%, and you'd have 6 months to pay that. Repay. So it's whatever 500 divided by 6 months at 1% interest is what you would have to pay. That's a very low payment.
Very low.
Yes, very, very, very low.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing I want to say is the EIDL is still available. They're still trying to work out this EIDL grant. So I'm not sure I haven't checked recently what's going on with that. Yeah. And so I'll circle back to that. But the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, this is the one that's specifically for COVID, because the regular disaster loan is more like a regular SBA loan. It has all these pages and so on. But the EIDL, you apply directly through the SBA website. Don't go to a bank. Don't go to a fintech provider. Don't go to a CDC. It's straight through the SBA website, and it's really straightforward. It is it's like a mortgage. It's a 30-year loan. I'm not saying you use all 30 years. It's a 30-year loan at 3 or 3.5%. I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me. 3 or 3.5%. And you have a 6-month grace period before you start to repay it. So
And
if
that's
your
the
business,
EIDL, not the PPP.
right,
Okay.
that's the EIDL. And so, and you can use that for any working capital need, So yes, anything that you need, any short-term needs of your business, you can use that for, buy equipment, pay the rent, all kinds of things. And I say that, and I tell people to go for that because, or you can use, if you had a lot of business credit, like you ran up $20,000 in charges related to your business, trying to save it.
Yeah.
And now, if you believe that your business can be saved, if you do not believe that your business can be saved, don't use it. But if you believe that your business can be, but you just got to get that debt load down, get the EIDL, pay off your credit cards because you use your credit cards to pay all that working capital.
Yeah.
And then now you have, a much longer time frame to pay at a much lower interest rate. So that's what I've been telling people to do. Use it to pay off your business cards, and then give yourself a cushion until you can recover, and then go after, more suitable, not more suitable, but lines of credits and so on. Because this is like the opportunity of a lifetime. When do companies our size, companies under 20 million get access to financing at 3 to 3.5%?
Yeah.
It doesn't, it rarely, it rarely happens.
Next to never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about, when we say companies, they may be under, 20 million. And typically some of those businesses have, I'm going to say 5 to maybe 10 employees, maybe a little bit more. But a lot of businesses have been operating with just themselves solo and maybe one other person. And they're having a hard time getting these loans because no, they don't make, a lot of money. They're not even near the millions. They may have, 200-300 grand or whatever. And they're applying for these loans, and they're in the mindset of, I'm not that big company. I don't have a lot of employees. They don't have all these other things that most larger companies have. What do you say to those people that's hesitant on applying for either one, the PPP or the EIDL?
Go for it. I have articles, again, like I said, I wrote that's the same thing as my massage therapist, right? That sounds like my massage therapist. No, you've got to go for it. And that's why the examples that I was given was, in the 10 to $50,000 range, $50,000 range. Yes, all of these apply to much larger companies, but typically they have a control, the larger companies. I know my clients, they'll have a controller or someone who can help them figure that out. But that's why I'm saying smaller, if you're self-employed, you're a micro business, you're a freelancer, these loans do apply to you, and use one of the community entities or the fintech firms to apply, because they make it easier. It's much easier to do that than through a Wells Fargo or Citibank or whatever. And some of them are only serving their customers. But yeah, so get with the, if like here in Atlanta area, Citizens Trust Bank, a Black-owned bank. And then, like I said, the EIDL is through the SBA. So just do it. It's freelancers. It's anybody who's operating a business. That business, and when they say employee, they mean you as a self-employed individual. It is not saying that you actually have a W-2 employee. No, it means if you pay yourself out of the proceeds of the revenues that you bring in, then you qualify as a business. So please, yes, absolutely apply for the EIDL. And then there was something else I wanted to say for those people who didn't bring in any revenue. They also did qualify for the pandemic unemployment assistance, which a lot of people didn't understand. Like, no, I'm not going to apply. Okay, you have zero money coming in. The PPP, the original PPP, it's like 2.5 months. Of course, you could stretch it out, if you because it was based on 2019. So if 2019 you made, let's say, 4,000 in a month, but in 2020 you might only decided to pay yourself 2,000 a month. Well, then you still would have gotten what, like $10,000, 2.5 times that 4,000, but you may have paid yourself over 5 months instead of over 2.5, right? In 2020. But outside of, so however you were paying yourself under the PPP money, you still, outside of that, if you weren't bringing in anything, you qualified for the pandemic unemployment assistance, the additional $600 that they were providing to people who normally would not qualify for unemployment. And some states that ended, I think, like sometime in July, for other states that continued through to the end of the year. And I'm not sure if that's coming back, but that's what I would say is look at it and see if you qualify, and if so, apply. And what happens with the pandemic unemployment is you initially get rejected because you didn't have a W-2, but then you get a note from your state Department of Labor saying, or a letter, email saying, you don't qualify for regular benefits, but you qualify for the PUA. Please complete this form. So any money that's out there, and then here's another grants. People used to come to me all the time and say, can I get a grant? Can I get a grant? I'm like, oh, people. Grants.
Yeah, I think that
yes.
Grants is they look at it as free money. I get a grant, I have to pay it back. And then they'll go into, I've heard people say, oh, well, I'm gonna start a nonprofit so I can get a grant. You don't understand that running a nonprofit is a lot harder than running a for-profit. It's so many different things that you have to do. So I've heard people do that before, because one, they think it's just free money. I want a grant. They have all these women grants and all these things they're hearing that's out there. And then starting a nonprofit is not the solution to the problem.
No, it's not, because of the deliverables that you have in, the case you have to make to get the grant, and then the deliverables that you have to provide once you get the grant. So, but now, because of what happened in COVID, there's all kinds of grants that are coming up, and they range in size from 5,000 to 50,000. So there's a really good site called Hello Alice. Is it .org or .com? But it's Hello Alice.
Okay.
And they have they post a bunch of the grants that are coming through. Some of the grants are one-off, different corporations trying to help small businesses, and some of them are rolling. It just depends, but every month there's several different grants. I just put the word out about grants for small biz for restaurant owners, but it's only in certain states. So just check that out and occasionally look for grants. You can't look at stuff that's like, from last year. Because I know I've written articles about, grants for women-owned businesses, but because these are grants that are only as a result of COVID. So those grants from 2 or 3 years ago are still there, but there's so many more grants. So you have to see, just, and check your local. I have my attorney's firm actually got a grant in Cobb County, because Cobb County was doing grants to small businesses, and her firm is a small business, and she got one of the grants. So it's so the money is out there. Just check for that. They may qualify it, and it's for use for things like marketing. That's a big one.
And it's
Marketing
on
and
Hello Alice. I will look up and be sure I put it on this
yes,
video, what it is, if it's .com or .org, but Hello Alice is a place
yes,
for them to go. Okay.
yes, yes. And then there's also the SBDC. If you are trying to figure out what do I do, what's the next step with my business? Should I shut down? Should I continue? If I'm going to shut it down, but I want to start something else, where do I get that help? The SBDCs, the Small Business Development Corporations, centers, not corporations,
Yes, Senator.
are yes, are out there and they're available, and the folks are working virtually, and they're trying to help as many people as they can. So please sign up to talk to one of those counselors. There's also SCORE. The SCORE folks are, they're retired folks, and so they typically don't have the same availability as a SCORE as an SBDC counselor, but they're there. They're there as backup. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, they might have office hours a week.
I get it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Versus someone who worked 40 hours and can get you onto their schedule. And there's also, the MBDCs, Minority Business Development Centers,
Right.
and then there's Women Business Centers. So you can do a search on those and see what's in your community and reach out to them. Some of them are free, like the SBDCs, and some of them have a sliding scale depending on how much revenue you produce. But it's still very cheap compared to a traditional coach or consultant. And what else would I say for people to do? Look around, because there's all these incubators popping up that are relatively cheap. Some are virtual, and it's in response to COVID. So there's a lot of entities out there trying to help small business owners to just look. And what you also have to say is, I'm worthy, because that's what I'm running into. I'm like, how many Black women am I going to talk to? Are like, no, I'm just not going to go, it's just a hassle. I let somebody else who needs it more. What?
Yes.
No. That is another way of saying, I'm not worthy. Let someone else take it. You are worthy. You deserve it. The money is there for firms, just specifically for firms like yours. What is it, like 90-something% of small businesses just have one employee. And most of the time that one employee is not a W-2. That's someone who's paying themselves directly out of the business. So you qualify. People, you qualify for that. So get the money. It's for you. You deserve it.
Why not? Yeah. But I mean,
yes.
Those are excellent points, because, like you say, is, I'm okay, I don't need it, I'm not going to apply for it. And then they hear the stories from other people that say, I applied for the loan and they only sent me $2,000. So now you're like, okay, $2,000 is great, but it's really not what I really need to do something. So it started discouraging, people from applying, because it's like, I need at least, 10, I really, why waste my time for 2? But what, I say to people is, one, you don't know exactly how that person filled out their information when they received it. One, if they did everything correctly, and 2, if they left out some things. So you don't know, but if you're not sure, that's when they need to reach out to people like you to say, okay, did you do this, or either fill it out and, let me know and let me help you review it, kind of go through something like that, and contact a resource like the Resourceful CEO and, get help. If you're not sure, even if you're kind of sure and you're confident in it, but you still got a little, contact someone, ask for help. Maybe I can convince Tiffany to come back and we do like a small webinar or something on this. And get the information, maybe do some, live examples, or, do some share screen with some corners
Oh
and things
yeah.
like that. So,
Yes.
like you say, the money is out there. We just have to go get it and know where to go get it. That's the other
Right.
thing too. So,
That's right.
I guess that take the fear factor out of it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
go for it. Is
Yes.
any other information or tips you can share about financial assistance for businesses?
Um, if you own multiple businesses, so let's say you have like three different LLCs, because over here you do some marketing, and over here you do some this, and over here you do something else, then submit the PPP applications for all three. So that's what I've heard sometimes when people are like, well, I own the one business and I only got $3,000. Well, they rejected the other two because those other two businesses had different
Mm,
EINs.
yeah,
So
correct.
you submit a PPP for all three businesses. That is not fraud. They have your name, your social security number. That's not fraud. So if one business made 20,000, another made 30,000, and another made 40, and all together, what did I say? 20, 30, 40,
Yeah,
that's $90,000. But if you only submitted for the one that made 20, then, you're not getting that much. So you submit for all three separate applications, and and that's how you'll make sure you get all your funding. Now, if you have one company that owns multiple, then there's something called an addendum A, and you fill that out so that they're aware that your company, even though you might be getting money coming in from different other companies, because and I actually submitted for the PPP, but I have a company, like a holding company that owns multiple companies. So I only submitted for the holding company, but I provided supporting information for the others.
I love them.
So, and you can see it in the tax returns. So that's what I would say. And then the other thing I would say, and people laugh, but I really, really believe this works. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are worthy, that you're fierce, that your business is going to be successful. If you start to feel like, oh, I don't want to go do that, and then sit down and fill out the paperwork, or then sit down, do your search, then sit down, call people. Don't do it from a place of feeling bad. Oh, my business is just so horrible. I'm just such a poor business. I don't know how to run a business. Who's going to want to work with me? If you believe that, you won't reach out. So you have to reach out. There's all kinds of people out there who are willing to help you. And I just gave a bunch of examples. So talk to yourself, as what Joel Osteen, you may not agree with him, you may not like him, but speak to your mountains. You have to
Yeah.
stop the noise in your head long enough for you to be able to take action. And so that's what I would say. But I would also, just one thing, if your business has truly failed, cut it. It's okay. These things happen. It's not a failure. It's not it's like, I remember running track, and I ran out that was horrible. I ran out the lane. That's when I got contacts. And so we didn't make it to state.
Do you have a plan to pivot your business? Come to the marketing studio. Not only will we help you create a plan to pivot your business, but we'll also help you to enhance your brand. The marketing studio. Go to our website, www.smginc.biz, or you can send us an email to media@smginc.biz. See you soon.
Okay, so we hit on a lot of things on applying for the PPE, some of the resources, where to go, and everybody must apply regardless of your situation. Don't think that you or your business isn't big enough, or you're not good enough, or I'm okay and I really don't need it. The money is there. So why not go ahead and apply for it, and be sure if you have to rewind this, go back and listen to if you have multiple businesses on how to be sure that you apply for each business so they know, what you're doing. And don't worry about it. It's not fraud. It's not illegal. You don't have to be scared that, you're doing something wrong. It's all legitimate. So for those of you that did receive funds in 2020, now you're in 2021 and you're filing your taxes, getting all of your papers, documentation, all that good stuff together, and you're not quite sure what to do with the money that you did receive. If you should put it on, how you should put it on, and what you should do with that. So can you give us a little information about that? I know you can't get too much in detail, but some tips on moving forward on adding that money to their tax returns. And if they, of course, they spent it on various things, making sure that they line all of those items on what those deductions were. How should they move forward with that?
Okay, this is actually really good. And I actually had someone who set up a meeting with me yesterday because she had a tax question. I was thinking, okay, I'm not a taxman, but let me address I think the question that she had, other people had, and the PPP. So if you received the PUA and the PPP, or other monies, and you're like, I don't know, because if you receive unemployment, you'll get a 1099-G. And so obviously, if you receive any 1099s, you have to report that on your tax returns.
Right.
But don't worry about, did this overlap that month or whatever. 1099-G for the year, any other 1099s that you get or what you received for the year. So they don't go into, oh, you received $1,000 from someone this month, but yet you received, you forgot to tell them to reduce your PUA. Don't worry about all of that. It's for the year. However it plays out during it, just don't worry about it. Just, put it on there and file your taxes. PPP, if you received PPP money, even though you may have said you used it to pay yourself, the PPP is a loan. And normally when they forgive a loan, it's considered, what do you call it? You have to pay, if I give you a loan for $10,000 and you don't pay it back and I forgive it, then you have to pay taxes on that. And not when you go bankrupt, but outside of bankruptcy. Yeah. But with the PPP, you don't. So if you receive $10,000 and all of that ends up being forgiven, it's not, you don't claim that on your taxes. You don't claim it on your business taxes. You don't claim it on your personal taxes. It's a wash. That's under the CARES Act. So you don't have to pay any taxes on the PPP loan. So, and then on not taxes, but the EIDL, just also remember, if you have any loan for your business, that tax, you pay interest, the taxes are deductible. That's why I always say have a business credit card so you can make sure you deduct that interest on your taxes. If you're going for the IDL, if it's below 25,000, there's no collateral needed. If it's over 25,000, then the business collateral, such as inventory or accounts receivables, will. But the EIDL, the for the COVID, it's totally only against the business. There's no personal liability. That's the other thing I forgot to stress. So if your business does fail in 2 years and you can't pay it back, that's what I'm saying. If you think your business is failing, don't go for the EIDL. But if you believe it can recover, but it just doesn't, then you have no personal liability for the EIDL loan. Just your business will. So.
Wow. Great information. So that clarifies that is a loan. So you don't put your loan on your tax return unless it's forgiven. And you probably won't know that until later this year or next year. So you don't have to worry about it anytime soon, right? Am I correct with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because if you're filing by April and the forgiveness and they're still trying to figure it out, then you probably won't know. So just assume,
You're alone.
that's right.
Okay.
It's not there.
Okay. So that is really good to know because so many people, not sure what to do. And I've heard, people talking about like, ooh, this is going to be, income. I got to add this to my tax. I'm going to pay taxes on it, going through, all of that. But thank you for clarifying that, you don't have to, it's a loan. And, hopefully it's all going to be forgiven and you don't have to worry about it. But if you do, then it's still considered a loan and they will give you ample enough time to pay it back and not say, okay, you got $100,000. I need this back in 3 years. So, you don't have to worry about that. You have ample time for that. So this was great. Oh, no, go ahead.
I had a thought when you were talking about the PPP.
Okay.
Yeah, the tax on loan. So the EIDL, you'd have plenty of time. The PPP, if you took out your 3,000, that loan is only for I believe it's is it a year or is it 2 years? Because the focus was on it being forgivable. But what I also wanted to stress was that if you saw a lot of stuff going back and forth throughout 2020, is it forgivable? Am I going to have to claim it?
Yeah.
That was where one of the clarifications came through later in the year that it will be totally no taxes on any of the forgiven out. So don't worry about that. So if you look at an article from like May or June and it says you have to pay it back, don't. You need to look at the more recent articles because the SBA took a moment to figure, and Congress took a moment to figure things out, and they had to send out clarification. So the point is that now you do not have to pay taxes on any of that.
Great. This has been not only a great conversation, but very informative. And I mean, we can talk a couple more hours on all of these things that's out there and, some of the things that you can do, but just don't have the time.
Right.
But let everyone know how they can get in contact with the Resourceful CEO.
Okay, they can contact me through the resourcefulceo.com. That's the resourcefulceo.com. And if you want to schedule a free 20-minute consult, you can go to that page or you can do the resourcefulceo.com/schedule. And you'll have to fill out the form because if you want me to help you, I need to know what's going on with your business. And there's no obligation. Just if you have questions, please do that. And I'll see what I can do. Oh, and if you want the, hold on, I have my book, but I had a cover on it. Anyways, the funding is out there. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and so on. That's what I was looking for. Okay.
Wow. I mean,
I had a cover on it. So.
That's okay. But, get the book. I mean, it's free. Who don't like free? It's free. Let's go with free. So you got free 20 minutes. Have the best way to utilize your time. So many mess up because you want to get in and you want to do all of the, short conversations and the greetings and all of that. Hey, Tiffany, how you doing? I'm glad you've been okay. Now, my first question is, and get in it. So you can utilize that 20 minutes wisely by having your questions ready. I'm pretty sure Tiffany will not get offended if you don't sit and chit chat with her for 5 or 10 minutes. You can say,
that's right.
My name is, my business is, now I need this, I need this. And she's giving you 20 minutes free, and you will be amazed on what you can get in 20 minutes if you are prepared.
Right.
That is crucial. Be prepared. Have your questions written out. Don't try to go by memory, because when you get in it and she starts throwing all of this stuff at you, you're like, oh, I had a question. I don't remember what it was. She don't have time for you to sit and think. Get your stuff together. Write it down. Be ready to go. So,
right. That's true. But that's why I do have a form for people to complete, because I ask questions that people wouldn't ask themselves. And so it makes, so then we can get straight to the point. Yeah. Because people are like, oh, and I'm like, no noise. But if you fill out the questions, then we get rid of the noise.
okay.
Answer the questions. Right.
That's great. So what I think would be a good idea, and I don't know how many people want to do this, because so many people, and I get it, I understand. But if you're willing to do your 20-minute consult on live with me, with Tiffany, and I will stream it. The reason I'm saying is that would give a real live example of what's happening specifically, and not a lot of general info. But if you're willing to do that, I will throw in a free full-page ad for your business in our international business magazine. So if you're willing to do that, but you have to sign up with Tiffany first. So if you sign up with her and do everything that she asks you to do, complete the form, and you're willing to go live to discuss everything, we're not going to talk about, anything in detail like the social EIN or nothing like that, but just questions pertaining to, this particular, situation. We won't give any of that information out. I will throw in a full page ad for free for doing this. And it's your questions can help so many others. And you just never know where it's going to go. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on and giving us this information. And I'm excited, because I know once everyone look at this interview, they're going to start applying. I know you are. You're going to start applying. I mean, how could you not?
Good. Yes. Apply, people. Yes. Time is of the essence.
There you go. Go. Thanks so much, Tiffany.
Thank you, Melissa. Thanks so much.
Do you want your business in front of an international audience? Advertise with us today. Savvy the Business Podcast. Send us an email at media@savvymag.biz. That's media@savvymag.biz. Send it today. Don't get left out.